Hello everyone, and welcome to today's NRCA webinar. Today's webinar and all July webinars are sponsored by the Estimating Edge. My name is Brad Martz and I serve in the Education Department here at NRCA, and today's presentation is brought to us by Jed Levenstein and Nick Durham from Built Worlds. A few housekeeping details before we begin. If you have questions for the presenters during today's presentation, you can type them into the chat box on your control panel. This will be an engaging presentation in which our presenters are asking for your thoughts, comments, questions, so please be ready to do that. Your control panel should be on the right side of your screen there with the chat box or questions box. Also, today's webinar is being recorded, and you will receive an email once that recording is available. You will also receive a link to a PDF of today's presentation. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Jed from Built Worlds. Take it away.
You got it, Brad, and thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's day is off to a great start, and we're looking forward to spending the next hour with you guys to really talk about the industry, and more specifically about, as you see on this slide, addressing the roofing industry's workforce challenges. Not only are we going to talk about the roofing industry's challenges, which will be our primary focus, we want to talk about the built environment or built industry as a whole. This whole industry is really being impacted by a skilled workers or field workers shortage. As the good news is, it's really a booming time within this industry. So with the supply and demand, there's always going to be someone on the shortfall here, which is why we always want to make a proactive approach and take proactive measures to solve the issue of this really, impactful shortage of workforce challenges. Therefore, that is what we will be talking about today. We'll provide some ideas, solutions, ability or ways to hire talent, maintain talent, and just different things that we have polled and surveyed many owners, CEOs, and founders, and we want to provide their perspectives. Also, as Brad mentioned at the onset of this call, we really want your engagement. We want this to be a fun hour. We don't want it to drag along. So anytime that you have any input or questions, you can feel free to jot that down in the chat box, and we'll be sure to do our best to address all those questions and comments following the presentation. So, therefore, as you hear about the topic, I want to kind of give you a brief overview as to who myself, Jed Levenstein, and my colleague Nick Durham, also on this conference call, will be representing. So, as Brad mentioned, we are here from Built Worlds. Built Worlds, as you see in big, bold writing, is a community for everyone in the built world. Our mission statement from day one as a 3-year new or old company, however you want to put it, has really been to be a catalyst to push this large built environment forward. It means push it forward to be more innovative, more adaptable to change, as well as more adaptable to just different techniques, which obviously includes hiring. This is an industry that has some old age kind of techniques that they've used, and it works. But we also want to be able to use this webinar, provide some different new tricks that may work not only for the hiring of staff, but just for an idea to keep an eye open for future trends and how past trends may repeat themselves, so we could be really prepared to not have a downfall and be set up for the future to make sure we could be scaled as possible. So what I'd like to do here is just kind of pass it off to Nick to really go into our mission at Built Worlds to see where we're coming from here.
Yeah, hey everybody, thank you for having us on the call today. I know Jed and I are happy to be here. So just a quick overview. Some of you might be wondering who Built Worlds is, and I think the best way for you to figure that out would just be to go to our website very quickly, and our website is builtworlds.com. We basically with a really brief elevator pitch here, we're a community that is fueling the conversation on an emerging technology and new approaches to buildings and infrastructure. So basically, we're trying to progress the industry. We're trying to progress the built world. That includes architecture, construction, trades like you guys, like the roofers, and pretty much anyone who is a part of our cities, our infrastructure, our buildings. We're the community who's passionate about moving it forward. So again, if you have a quick second, take a look at our website, builtworlds.com, and yeah. So the next slide I want to share with you is kind of who we are, who's in our community. we have basically grown in about 3 short years into a community with a lot of big names, a lot of big players, whether it's real estate, whether it's innovative tech companies. I know there's a slide here that shows Tesla, for instance. What we're trying to do is bridge the gap between technology and the built environment. And one way that we're trying to do that is kind of the subject of our talk today, and that's with careers. Careers, as you probably know, is a major issue that we're having in the built environment. Trade specifically, we're trying to figure out better ways to recruit and attract new talent, and we're also trying to figure out how to leverage technology to do that.
So as we mentioned, we're going to delve into this topic and get pretty, provide a lot of substance. But before we do that, we feel like we should take a step back and introduce ourselves. So I'll go first here. And, again, my name is Jed Levinstein. I'm the Director of Operations here at Built World. Really, as you see, a little bio that I put together there, the truth of the matter is I've been very entrepreneurial and involved in 4 startups. And in each startup, I've held a similar role, really leading the operations and strategic planning from initially to a long-term plan. That being said, it's really been important throughout my different ventures to really adhere to many different variables and take them all into consideration of how you can scale again and grow from level 1 to get to that next level as needed. But the truth of the matter is, the one constant that I have seen within all the different ventures I've been involved with is you could have everything together, processes, you can have the great concept, the great idea, but without that talent, without that workforce that really is behind you to support you, that you can trust in, that you feel you can build to be future successors, it's impossible. And that's why this is such an important topic and very dear to Nick and myself, as well as one that we really offer a platform to solve within the Built World Careers platform, not much unlike the NRCA Career Center platform, which we strategically partner with because we know this is a big need to actually, again, make sure we can push the industry forward.
All right, and yeah, we chose, just so all of you know, we chose to include our pictures on this, on these slides, so we can be at home in our pajamas and lounging on the couch. So yeah, no, actually that
was our secret, but Nick had to get it out there.
Right. Anyway, so I'm Nick. I am the Director of B2B Marketing at Built World and Director of Strategy. So the reason I've joined the call today is because I've worked with industry associations, with small businesses in the built environment, trade organizations, trade associations, to help them develop distinct brands and basically to attract, whether it's new clients, and then I guess today's focus, potentially new talent. How you brand yourself, how you market yourself is a really important part of this entire process. So I just kind of wanted to, I'm here, I guess, to weigh in on that part and help you attract and yeah, and develop a brand that people are interested in working for.
All right, now on to the meat of why we're all here today, and that's really to address the labor shortage. And the best way we always like to kind of start a conversation within the Built World events, in which we have a series of about 9 to 12 on an annual basis, as well as through these webinar conversations that we are really excited to do not only today, but we do on a real general basis, because people really respect the polling and the data that we're able to pull from all the different conversations and meetings that we have. So really talking about the labor shortage is something we're going to deep dive into with the idea of talking about statistics and some data. So as we get into this is a graph, okay, and obviously the graph is representing really the labor shortage from year over year. And what you can really see is the vertical bars that you see here in red, of course, or the vertical bars overall, red and blue, to show the rapid increase in different housing starts, as well as correlating into the rapid decrease in the workers that they need to really help to complete these projects. The red bars, again, are the labor shortage, and again, to reiterate, it's worsening, while more and more housing projects are being started, as evidenced by the blue graph. And the big problem from this, which you can see here, is the shortage is really showing no signs of being decreased under the current conditions. So this is not a problem if you just continue to look in 2017 and 2018 and see that these red bars are continuing to increase. We need to be proactive and get in there and provide these different solutions, ideas, or even just education to this two-sided marketplace of employers and job seekers to see how we could alleviate some of these concerns for now and in the future. So these are some specific, further specific stats to look into. But, the truth of the matter is roofers specifically, as well as others in the industry, are really noticing these problems. And it's not only one position, but across multiple positions, which really is needed to get all of the jobs done, in which is really necessary to not only build the business, but to maintain it. Overall, the construction industry as a whole is indeed struggling more than other fields in the workforce employment stats. And again, we don't want to be laggards in this, as we had been in innovation and technology in the past. So we want to be upfront and talk about this, make this a public issue, and figure out how we can make these public solutions so we don't have to adhere to any of these impacts that may cause negativity to the company. Further information here can show the serious consequences, which I was just getting into about some of these negative impacts. And I don't want to have to go over and recite all of the stats to you, because you guys can see for yourselves, as well as these presentations will be shared to you following this webinar session, as Brad mentioned earlier. But as you can see, there are some serious consequences. Mainly here, 75% of construction workers are spending more money on wages and bids in response to this labor shortage. That's a big problem. Labor shortage isn't just the issue of getting jobs done, but it's against supply and demand, which brings pricing and payroll up to really adhere to and accommodate these really talented workers that to get the job done. That's where trust is very important, but could also be leveraged by the employee if you don't have further depth or a bench, a pipeline that could go in and help support that workforce. Numerous other negatives listed as well, as you can see. So what we did is Nick and I put together a few bullet points here about ongoing trends that we have noticed. And without changing the practices and adhering to some of these bullet points, these issues will never see improvement. And I'm really serious about that, because any industry that realizes a problem really needs to address that. And we are focused here on the roofers and, again, on the built environment as a whole, and we want to be the catalyst here at Built World to address these problems, but not just point out a problem. That's really easy to do. But generate conversation and engagement around these issues, provide solutions, as well as have an open conversation to see if there's many other solutions that can be adhered to as well. Here are a few bullet points about these ongoing trends. An increasingly weak workforce is really a severe issue, as we have stated. Companies are losing money month after month as these wages are increasing based on the supply and demand. And again, these are issues all of which can be solved by hiring a few more workers and maintaining that current talent. Easier said than done, I understand, of course.
All right, so basically, we understand there's a problem, right? And for every problem, you want to identify the solution. We think there are kind of two ways to solve the talent shortage. And one is to start attracting more people into the field, whether it's starting to attract them at a young age, maybe making roofing and construction jobs, I guess, more respectable, bringing back the sacredness of the trades in the construction industry. I personally think is an important part of it, and we'll talk a little later about how to brand that into your company. But another solution is to work with the talent that you have and make sure that they don't leave, so that you're worse off. So we'll start here. So, how do we maintain the workforce that we have? So one of our most recent events here at Built World was an event focused on health and wellness, and a lot of people were like, "What in the world does health and wellness have to do with construction?" Right? Really, it's honestly probably one of the most neglected parts of this entire industry. As anyone who's worked in the industry knows, I was raised in a family that had a residential contracting business, so I've been raised in the industry, and I know that health is not a primary concern for most workers on the job. So, but I think with that knowledge and that nugget, there's like some hidden messages underneath. And so we recently had an event that was focused on health and wellness because we think that addressing health and wellness, especially when you're talking about maintaining a workforce, is one of the most crucial factors to caring for and taking care of the workers that you currently have. So anyway, a speaker came from a company called Graycore. They're a big contractor based here in Chicago, and they presented basically what they found about actually focusing on health and wellness at their company. And I think they received the healthiest company, one of the healthiest company in America awards this year. And so one of their HR directors came in and just kind of explained what they did, what worked, what didn't. And so we want to talk about that with you guys because it was pretty profound for us. So first, let's start with what didn't work. Here's pretty much what's going on. It's just rampant across the entire industry. Basically, everyone is under-communicating. There are very little wellness offerings, wellness programs going around. Most companies don't do it. There's unhealthy food options everywhere. Most guys on the job are eating fast food, and you're not conscious of making this an important thing. So when Graycore first started out trying to make health a more important priority for the company, they just did a few basic things. They offered gym memberships. They did reimbursements. And what they found was like, yeah, these things, I guess it's showing that we are making it more a priority, but it's not actually working, right? So what did work? What did work was actually identifying some clear goals that they wanted to achieve with the program. And so I think a few of the goals that their HR director mentioned to us was they actually wanted to increase productivity, they wanted to increase happiness and satisfaction with their employees, and then they worked backwards from those goals on how they could achieve that. And yeah, usually when you're talking about the deeper issues like happiness and satisfaction, a gym membership reimbursement is not going to address that.
And just to add to that fact, as Nick kind of touched on, to get more in depth about that, the reason a gym membership, as one example, may not work from a company-wide perspective is it's got to be somewhat customized to what works best to each individual. Some individuals may have a workout equipment in their own home, so they aren't that incentivized to go to the club, right? So there's different things that may work for different companies depending on size of the company and organization, but also to make sure you can customize it maybe more to specific performance goals, just like you would in a professional workforce kind of KPI aspect. You could do it to a weight loss goal. You can do it to how much time through the honor system people are spending working out, just in trying to make it a little more customizable to everybody in the organization so they could adhere to these different potential offerings.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so what else did work? So when you are trying to address health and wellness is you're trying to change behavior, right? And so one of the ways that you implement a habit and actually and start changing behaviors with your staff is you offer them rewards. So they give them incentives for doing some of these things. That was a big thing that started to actually turn the wheel for them. And then, as you'll see on a few upcoming slides, they started engaging the families, right? And just a quick note on some of these things that have worked here. Basically, it's more holistic. It's more comprehensive. I don't know if you can see there's a lot more effort that has gone into it, rather than just writing down and a few initial ways to get started. Right. This is a pretty comprehensive thing, and it's time consuming. Let's get honest here. Like, this is not an easy implementation. Right. You have to commit to it from more than just your HR department. It's a company-wide goal. Right. So health and wellness, that is one very serious way to increase an employee's happiness, satisfaction, and productivity. Another big thing that is never addressed in this industry is basic security, right? Security is one of the most fundamental human needs that we have. And one of those areas is financial security, right? We all can relate to being financially insecure. I think at every point in one of our lives, we've had trouble paying our bills, right? And we've had trouble making a budget, keeping a budget. Maybe we've gone into some debt. And this is a real thing that is happening with your employees, right? And so because you've experienced that, you know exactly what it feels like to be dealing with these issues. Basically, you can't focus. Your health deteriorates. Stress is a thing that impacts pretty much all areas of your life, including your work, and it's going to bring down your level of satisfaction at your job. A lot of times people will think, oh, I'm not making enough money, so I can't be happy, right? Well, there are other ways to address that financial insecurity, and some of it starts with very basic stuff like budgeting, right? And having programs and having resources to teach your employees how to do that can really go a long way.
One thing that I'd like to add on, so as I mentioned again at the onset, is we like to really throw in data or even information from past conversations that Bill Will has held amongst our many meetings and events that we have held and continue to hold. And one thing that's come up on the employee wellness issue, whether it's talking about financial aspects of this or even just specific health of an individual, is that fine line balance between personal and professional. And it's a very sensitive issue. How far is too far to go to really approach an employee to see, are they doing okay mentally? Are they stressed out? How are they handling their financials on a personal basis? And the truthful answer is, it's all about approach, right? You want to show your employees that you care. You don't want to overstep your boundaries. So there's different techniques that have been implied or expressed to us that they use just to show that they show the employee they care, as well as that they're there for the employee as a mentor or just as a kind of a counselor in some fashion to really make sure that these employees, whether they're interns straight out of college or, just not the most advanced within their background of understanding some of these different issues that arise, it's always nice to know that there's support there. So that fine line balance is sensitive, and it's hard to break through, but it's something that it really shows the employees you care, and that's a big step that we have heard is helpful in maintaining the talent within the workforce. As that's being said, what I'd like to do is take about a 30-second pause, because this is an issue, again, that comes up time over time as a sensitive balance. And if anybody could put thoughts down in the chat box about some different ways that they've addressed this fine line balance or how they've addressed employees, whether it's a financial or mental or physical status issue, to see, and was it successful? And if you could jot some of these notes down in the chat, we could go back following our presentation and kind of reprise some of those thoughts and perspective and really talk about that to the whole audience. And again, pass out different things that have worked or not worked so we could all learn from these experiences. So let's take 30 seconds if possible, and try to collect your thoughts as well as jot down any if possible.
Chad, isn't this where you cue the Jeopardy music?
Well, I thought you do that, Brad. That was a little miscommunication, I guess, ahead of time.
Sorry, we'll get it figured out for next time.
All right. As you guys continue to process, please note that you should digest or process your thoughts regarding that topic as well as anything else we've discussed and continue to discuss as we'll continue to move on here.
Okay, so just a few quick things about how you can address the financial insecurity aspect. Yeah, there's a lot of really easy things you can do. So basic budgeting, debt management, helping people understand their credit scores, how to raise them, how to set up emergency funds, insurance, basic financial planning. Like these are pretty easy ways. There's a lot of resources out there on this stuff, and it's not too hard to put together just some initial information for people who may have never been educated on the subject. Having a background in finance, I know Jed does too. people, there's a lot of, I'd say most Americans probably consider themselves financially illiterate. And it really doesn't take too long from going to financially illiterate to financially literate. It just takes a little bit of effort. But a lot of times just a helping hand, a guiding hand along the way is pretty impactful. So to wrap up the maintaining the workforce segment here, basically it's about company culture, and we listed a few bullet points, and all these bullet points have pretty much one thing in common. And I'll see if you guys can kind of think about this. But from my perspective, the commonality here is that all of these things, whether it's career advancements, whether it's productivity, whether it's better communication, addressing personal issues, it's putting in effort, right? It's showing that you care. And that stuff matters sometimes more than anything else, more than a higher paycheck, right? If you feel taken care of, if you feel like someone has your back at work, you're going to do a better job and you're going to be happier at that job.
So as we've really explained how to hire new talent, potentially how to maintain that talent, we want to get back into the initial conversation about finding that new talent. Again, I'm very interested in this topic, as I've really thought and noticed. Again, this is the essential variable needed to build and scale your business. So how do we find new talent in this day and age? And when we talk about finding talent, I always like to take a step back and think about it from a high level. And from a high level, that really means it's a two-sided marketplace, right? From the employer side, we are the ones looking to bring on that talent to really, again, get that trusting pipeline to build the company and really adhere to the processes and policy in place to make sure the company culture lives on, if not continues to improve, as well as the efficiency and productivity, again, are maintained, but again, ideally improved as well. From the talent side, it's extremely important on the job seeker for them to understand really the different kind of measures that go into finding a job. It's not easy. It never was easy, and it still isn't easy, even with all the avenues out there. It's finding a job from the job seeker. It's time consuming, right? And when it's time consuming, generally we see shortcuts are taken. There are these large job boards out there in this day and age, and what I see from hiring practices is I'll get hundreds of resumes submitted for one specific position. Then you call that candidate back, and they have no idea who the company is or position is because they want to minimize their time. And that's laziness, and those aren't the candidates we generally look to hire, but that's what happens a lot in this culture of they want quick feedback, quick results, so that if they're able to submit a resume or application, they'll click on it without really understanding what goes into that job. That wastes time on the employer side, of course. So what are ways we can really look into finding a specific pool of talent for what we're seeking to really add to our businesses while minimizing time for not only the job seeker, but us as the employers? So as I mentioned, there are these industry hiring platforms. And when I say industry, I'm going to use that very loosely within this slide. You have the really popular large job board types, such as Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, even LinkedIn. And those are great job boards, and they all serve great purposes, but none of them are very industry specific. They are, again, very agnostic in their practice. So what that means is, if we are looking for roofer positions here, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more specific way to find the talent that you're really trying to mentor, curate, bring on board. And to really do that, we have to really keep an eye open for these new, again, paths and avenues to really adhere to this specific built environment industry, these roofers that we're really seeking to bring out to the workforce, and really make sure that we are doing all we can to minimize efforts, but make it a little more efficient of a process. Therefore, there are a couple of good ideas on here, right? There's constructionjobs.com. That's a job board related to construction jobs, and it runs the gamut throughout the built environment. More specific, which is great, and that's what we're needing to really minimize time and provide efficiency. You see association job boards. Well, that's an incredible resource. NRCA's Career Center is a great example of this. They have a great Career Center job board for employers as well as job seekers to see what jobs are out there specifically for the roofers. On that same Career Center page, you'll see Built World having a presence because we are extremely industry specific. We have a Built World Careers platform ourselves, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but it shows the more specific in this day and age, the better. Saves time, saves money, and saves a lot of frustration in the end as well. So, as I mentioned, what is Built World Careers? And let me throw the man with the strategy behind this into the fray here, Nick, and get a little bit more context about Built World Careers.
All right. So Built World Careers. So basically, I'll give you kind of a brief overview of where we've gone with our careers, because we've had our own we've had our own difficulty with hiring, right? And what we started out doing was we created basically a technology that would match and screen you with potential candidates. If you, for instance, if you're a company and you're hiring a roofer, we built basically a database full of job applicants, and if they match the criteria that you're looking for, if a roofer were to sign up, we would notify you via email. So we first built that platform, and it was working really well. Pretty unique thing. Like if you sign up, you virtually don't have to do any work. You just get really great leads coming into your inbox every day. So that was one thing that we built, and that technology still exists within our careers platform, which is it's pretty much the industry-leading technology in terms of careers. So we have that. Another thing we did was we realized that basically niche industries and niche trades like your own, they do much better at attracting candidates when they're specific, right? This is kind of I guess where my marketing background comes in. Niche, when you go after a strong niche and you do really well with it, and you know it well, and people find out about it, basically you create a system that weeds out bad candidates, and you're only getting strong candidates who come to the site. Is it less than a Career Builder or a LinkedIn? Absolutely. But the quality of candidates that are coming here and the number of industry professionals who have the experience that you're looking for is going to be just astronomically higher. And so we created a job board based on the digital platform of Built World that we built over the last 3 years. And we have over, I think, 80,000 people per month coming to our site. And so we had all this traffic, and we're like, you know what, we need to maximize that and leverage the audience that we built, right? So we built a job board that is industry specific. And so what that means is that basically any company working in the Built World can post a job on our site, whether you're a trade, whether you're a big contractor hiring for a technology job. It's totally cool with us. We want to create the industry's best job board. And with that job board and matching and screening software, we've created a pretty unique thing with Built World Careers.
One thing to add, if you guys are looking to take the opportunity to visit the Built World Careers or the job board, you'll look at category. And please understand that if there is no job posting for a specific category, for example, roofers, then that category will not show up. But as Nick just finished saying, any job or really specific sector within this industry is open game and fair game for our jobs to be posted. And once they're added, if the roofer's job's added, then we are able to add roofers to the categories of available open positions looking to be filled.
So just again, what some of the advantages you have with our careers platform is you're going to weed out bad candidates. You're not going to waste your time. You're going to fill the positions faster because they're going to be more qualified. You can have more advanced conversations with them early on. You can discover these qualified candidates through our notification system. So we will literally just email you when you get a candidate that applies. And you avoid high recruiting fees because we all know that recruiters like to basically charge a mortgage every time they place.
So how can we help? And the answer is Built World specifically can help finding these specific candidates for the different sectors within the built environment. There's these two different platforms that both serve the similar purpose of being efficient, specific, and really trying to fill that need of finding really good, experienced, talented, trustworthy individuals to fill these open slots. One thing I do want to mention, Job Board and the matching screen are two different functionalities that are part of the Built World's Careers platform. If someone's interested in getting involved in the Built World's Careers platform, we offer both for the price of one, just so you can play around, have some fun to see how the different platforms work. But most importantly, we're here to push the industry forward. And one way to do that is to fill some needs and job needs for you guys on this call today, as well as everyone else we deal with. So we really, express the need for jobs to be filled, and that's one place to go is Built Worlds alongside the NRCA Career Center as well.
All right. So one of the questions that people usually have about our careers platform, and I think just using job boards in general, is how are you getting people and qualified candidates to your job page? And so we do a few different things in order to stay proactive and get some candidates and get candidates consistently looking at the pages, right? So we've collected a pretty large database of users, and monthly we will send out a newsletter with them with featured jobs, with jobs they might be interested in based on the preferences that they've shown, and as well as a few other careers resources to go along with that. So that's our monthly newsletter, and we also will utilize our social media. So from a marketing perspective, I'll just weigh in here. Distributing out the things that you're looking for via social media, for instance, like for us, it's jobs. For you, it's also probably jobs. And letting people know and just getting the word out there is definitely a part of the process. And you have to stay proactive with it. Just because if no one responds right away, it's totally okay. But through word of mouth, if they know of a friend who might be interested in the job, they might tag them on social media. So it really can be a powerful resource, and I would just recommend staying persistent with it. But again, using those channels to distribute that information is how we stay proactive and don't just let the page sit and just hope users will come. We go get them for you.
I mean, and last note here in bold, you see headhunters and recruiters charge 18 to 25% here, which is common knowledge amongst the industry. And you know what? There's a real reason to use different services or platforms, for different needs. However, again, I think there's a cheaper way to do it, which is more efficient and more specific. And that's some of these solutions or different sites or boards that we've really discussed today. It's all relative, and it's all about minimizing time in our minds. So minimizing time and minimizing money together is a great formula, not only to find the right candidates, but find it in a way that can be structured and formulated with a strong job seeker database, as you see with 47,000 amongst the Built Worlds database. So that's our presentation for today, but we don't want to let you off the hook just yet. We want to give you guys a few minutes here at least to kind of chime in through the chat box once again with any comments, questions, thoughts, anything you would like to discuss. We do have about 20 more minutes if you would like to utilize that time to have further discussion. So please feel free to type a message in the chat box, or Brad yourself may feel free to kind of interject some questions, and Nick and I would also be happy to engage in.
Sure, thanks guys. We've had some comments come in throughout your presentation, so if you'd like, I can just start reading through some of those. Sound good?
That would be great.
All right.
Yeah, perfect.
So along the lines of when you guys were talking about maintaining talent, we had some comments. One from Luciano, he says, we recently rolled out a gym plan. There was no significant movement until our president revised with multiple options. So it seems like that revision kind of helped them with keeping their talent. Another comment from Karen. She says, we have a focus on competitive wages and bonuses, EAP, our Employee Assistance Program, as part of the benefit programs. And then she also mentioned the idea of financial literacy courses with their company's banking partners. So that's an interesting idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Another comment from Tammy. She said, we've been in business for 28 years. The best employees are the ones that can balance their checkbooks. You always know how someone's doing financially by hearing if they have to keep borrowing money from another employee. Then she goes on to say that when they first hire someone, she always tries to give them an advance to help with gas and food, and they're kind of usually on a trial basis until she can get some more information behind the scenes on that, just as a way to support their employees financially and kind of see where they're at. Thanks for those comments, Tammy. Let's see, scrolling through here. Another comment talking about the workout plans. Good comment here. She says our guys get a physical workout every day in roofing. Obviously, if we're talking about the field workers. However, financial perks can make a difference. This is a comment I'm reading here. We give our guys $50 for their birthdays, gift cards to take their families out to eat once in a while. We've had guys leave thinking it was better elsewhere, but only to find out it was not and to ask to come back. So financial incentives certainly can play a part. Let's see here. In terms of resources for hiring talent, one comment says different markets yield different results. In some markets, Craigslist may work over ZipRecruiter. Other markets could be vice versa.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially, just really quickly on the local market thing. Yeah, I mean, if a lot of small business, I'm assuming roofing companies, they're going to do better on those local channels for sure. They're very specific. That's where you got to think about where the fish are, right? You don't want to go fishing in a pond that doesn't have any fish, right? You want to go to where the fish are, and where are the roofers looking? Where are your potential candidates? Where are they going to look for jobs? And yeah, for the local markets, Craigslist is often a pretty solid place because that's where the fish are.
As a selfish plug, if I may, BuildWorld does have the ability to filter by location as well as that background skills, potential certifications, and education. So I think that's becoming more commonplace on a higher level, not only with BuildWorld, but other industry-specific job boards to have that ability to filter by data, to understand trends as well as know where that focus needs to be. So to that point, I think Craigslist and ZipRecruiter, they may work for different cases. There's no doubt about it. That's why they are so successful and have been in business for so many years. I do think trends and changing trends always have to be kept in your mind, right? And you just got to try different things that may work, and then see what works and doesn't, and learn from that. But these comments that you just mentioned, Brad, from the gym memberships all the way to these financial, if they can balance their checkbooks, they're on the right path, are all great comments. And as we understand, there's really no 100% right solution for all this stuff. But that's why conversation in these types of settings is so important for BuildWorlds and for everybody, just to come together and hear the different solutions that are out there and things that may work and don't work. And again, we can't be too short-sighted. Something that may not work for one company may work for another company, as we always have to keep in mind all the different variables included as well.
Yeah. So a quick note on the comment about the gym, and we tried the gym program. So one of the things that was talked about at our health and wellness event with Graycore was just the culture. So like giving out a gym membership, I think you mentioned, Brad, that there was, we initially gave one option and it didn't work too well. The culture is kind of, it's really not too into like, going to the gym and knocking out an intense workout, right? A lot of people who aren't regular gym goers in this industry, they're going to go and they're going to chat, they're going to see friends, and they might walk in, but they might walk out, 10 minutes later or an hour later having had like 6 conversations, right? And so nothing's really getting done. But what you can look into is I think was what you alluded to, is like there's other options, and one specifically that they mentioned was getting them involved in community events, so like bike races, 5Ks, things that would be more fun and already have that social aspect built in, is a pretty good way to also be a little more comprehensive than just handing out memberships.
Thanks, guys. A question that came in is, how exactly do you attract candidates to your BuiltWorld site?
Yeah, sure. So I'll address that. So how do we attract them to our site? We already have a pretty strong audience. We have a pretty strong audience views per month. So we already have a significant amount of traffic just coming to our site and our job board. How did we build that? We did that through content that may or may not be what you're trying to do in your business. But how do we get them to our site? We have regular articles and videos that are posted on our site. One of the areas that we talk about in our articles is career focused, and another way is we will post jobs to social media and through our careers newsletter that goes out once per month to about 50,000 people.
Yeah, and then the other part is always ongoing personal engagement, right? Not only for, getting people to understand how the job board and career center works, but how Built World works. And really, again, how every company gets further involvement and engagement is through physical meetings, right? Shaking people's hands, looking each other in the eyes. That's something that's not going out of style. I know that the computer makes it a lot easier to send emails and hide behind that, but Built World really is very event-centric. And we have a variety of different topics that we really focus on, as one that we've mentioned a few times was the employee wellness topic. And when we get people to the event, not only are they learning information and they're meeting people, but it creates the different engagement. And what I mean by engagement is ability to learn and drive them to our website and drive them to all the other companies who participate as attendees, panelists, even the moderator, to their websites as well.
All right, thanks, guys. Another question from Karen. What about apprenticeship as, in other words, specific training as a means to hiring and retention? You guys have thoughts there?
I'm actually curious if she's still in the chat. I'm curious if she thinks there's a difference between an apprenticeship and an internship, and how those differ. But as far as apprenticeship and how I see it, apprenticeship is basically it's a full-time job, and it's basically a training program where someone learns from a very experienced person in the industry. And is that something that is useful to hand out? Absolutely. I know myself, like when I'm 28, so I'm not too far removed from the college, the post-college looking for a job world. And one of the first ways that you have to get your foot in the door as a young person is you have to work, whether it's for free or for a low wage, building the skills that you want to build, right? And an apprenticeship is a great way to do that. And I know that throughout history there's been thousands, tens of thousands of people, successful people, who've used that to jumpstart their careers. And you can't be afraid as a job candidate or as an employer to hand that out.
And I'm going to actually chime in here from an NRCA perspective to help address our labor shortage. NRCA is creating a huge, what is called our Pro Certification Series, which is creating training in every single roof system as a means to get people into the industry and as a means to establish a career path for people. So I would definitely agree with what's being said here and agree with Karen that training is definitely a means to bringing people in and to hire them and to retain them, to invest money in them, to show the employees that you value them and their work, that you would be willing to pay money to, put them through training.
Yeah, and then Brad, I always like to use the term in just kind of in a soft way here, but it's the try before you buy model, right? And that's for internships and apprenticeships. And it's not just try before you buy for the employer whether it's the apprentice or an intern. It's the other way around as well, about how they could potentially fit into the culture. Do they get along with the other people? Do they enjoy, the mission? Do they enjoy the potential career advancement aspect? So the try before you buy, it's really sometimes always thought about from the employer to the potential job seeker to bring on board, but I look at it as both sides of the fence, and these apprenticeships as well as internships definitely allow for that.
Thanks, Jed. Thanks, Nick. Another question just came in. How is Built Worlds different from others already out there?
Sounds like a marketing question. Yeah, was directed totally at me, so I'll take it. Basically, yeah, we do have some competition. There's companies out there that exist like us. One thing that makes us different is that we, while we do have a focus on technology and emerging tech and new approaches in buildings, one thing that we try to do is we try to bring together all industries in the built world. So we're not just talking about built tech, for instance. Like there's a lot of companies, a lot of competition for us they're really focused on just the technology. Like we're here today talking about careers, and our mission is different from a lot of our competitors because our mission is about pushing the industry forward by any means necessary. The conversation that we're having is not like we don't care what that is. We want to have the conversations that matter.
We want to facilitate those. We want to curate that. We want to, again, have these conversations that don't start and stop, right? We need to have conversations that educate everyone on the issues in hand, where the trends are, what the stats say, and then again, have solutions, whether it's from built worlds and all the polling that we do, or from specific connections that are made to help them get through their problems. Built worlds is truly a professional network, and we're very event-centric, as I've said in the past. But when I say a professional network, it's very important to understand that we have about 100,000 subscribers to our weekly newsletter that goes out. And that is not something that we force upon people. We don't have premium paywalls or anything like that. People want to go to our website and stuff for the newsletter, they do. And that's how we've been able to grow through our written video content as well as our events. And the variety of topics that we talk about are here to tell a story. Every time we have an event, we tell a story arc from start to finish. And when we have our marquee events once a year, which is called the Built World Summit, that's exactly what takes place. It's a 2.5-day event, and we start from a very high level of cities and how they're being built, and we drum it all the way down towards the end of the event to the materials being used and potential software that was utilized to measure the performance of these projects. So we really like to get in, have a specific focus, but also tell a narrative arc so everyone understands the different importance that's played by the different parties. We are truly that professional network that wants to push industry forward, adhere to the thought leadership that's out there, provide written and video content, and have these events where everyone can come meet and learn.
All right, guys, I think that's all the questions that we have for now. So I'll go ahead and make a few closing comments. We'll see if any last questions come in. But thanks to both of you guys for your presentation today, Jed and Nick. I will mention.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Sure. I will mention to our audience that there is a brief survey that launches immediately following the webinar. Once you close out of it, we would appreciate your feedback on today's presentation. Also, I'll repeat that you will receive a link to the recording and a link to a PDF of this presentation either later this week or early next week. Our other July webinars are posted on our website as well, including next week's technical industry update from Mark Graham. That's next Tuesday. And then a presentation from our legal counsel, Philip Siegel, towards the end of the month. You can register for webinars. You can view archive webinars from the last few years at nrca.net/webinar, and all that is free for members. Let me check the chat box one more time here. All right, so that's all we have for today. Thanks again, guys, and thanks to all of you for taking time out of your day to join us. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.